For most of his adult life, Kennedy depended on a daily intake of powerful drugs. As he was sworn into office on that bitterly cold January day, evidence of his medication was clear to the expert eye.
President Eisenhower, the former president's doctor, was watching him on television. He was, of all the people out there on the podium, Kennedy was the only one who did not have a coat on, and he was perspiring. And the doctor said, that's because he's taking an extra injection. Well, he wasn't taking injections, he was taking pills at that time, but I'm sure he took an extra pill that day.
As the new president struggled with his disease, he would become more and more dependent on drugs to alleviate his pain. By the time he was elected president, John Kennedy was taking daily doses of a new wonder drug called hydrocortisone to control his Addison's disease and boost his energy. The pills were a synthetic version of the stress hormone his body lacked. But when Kennedy was first diagnosed, these drugs were not available. He had been dependent on a far less effective treatment, and his illness was apparent.
I met John Kennedy in 1957. I went up to the Senate. I was doing a story for the Old Life magazine. I got on an elevator with a rather sickly, skinny, unimpressive-looking human being. I was introduced as Life's new reporter to John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy. We shook hands. We were both unimpressed with the other one, but it was the beginning of a long friendship.
A few years later, hydrocortisone was readily available, and Kennedy could lead a far more active life.
I was out there with him, 20 hours a day some days, through snow and cold, and he was up at 5 o'clock at the factory gates, and then he'd have 2 or 3 speeches in the morning, and then we'd fly someplace else, and he'd have a rally, and then we'd go till midnight. Now, don't tell me an invalid could do that, and that's the part of Kennedy I saw. Did he take pills? Yeah, he took pills. Did he take a nap? Yes.
But journalists were not told that Kennedy's tireless 1960 campaign was fueled by an endless supply of cortisone stored in safety deposit boxes around the country. And it was up to Kennedy to decide how much to take.
If someone is taking cortisone or a drug of that type, and they clearly will feel miles better compared to how they felt before, then it's quite reasonable to say, well, I'm feeling a bit better now. Maybe if I take some more, I'll feel even better. And particularly if you then become slightly manic, that means you're overactive and over-enthused with life, it would be quite easy to say, well, I'll just take a little bit more and I feel even better that way, and really slightly lose contact with how well you're doing or not. And unless the amount of drug is limited by their own doctor, who can watch them and monitor them carefully, it's quite easy to overdose.
But with Kennedy, no one doctor controlled his dosage.
3 doctors were probably calling the shots at the same time, without any of the other doctors knowing that one or another was involved. You've got a prescription for a disaster there, because too much and you drop over into the mental and emotional side effects of the drug. Increased anxiety, restlessness, hallucinations, panic attacks, insomnia, increased sexual libido, loss of judgment, and multiple effects.
Kennedy had an unlimited supply of cortisone, so it's impossible to learn the quantity he was taking. Evidence suggests that he was overdosing.
Over-medication with steroids frequently induces a sense of a heightened sense of risk-taking, awareness, just sort of ignoring the risks that are there. Does induce hypersexual activity in certain individuals. Kennedy was a formidable risk taker.